Is music truly forbidden in Islam? Let's embark on a journey through history to understand this complex issue. Welcome to a fascinating exploration of music and its place within the Islamic faith. Like any world religion, Islam is a tapestry of beliefs and interpretations, each one adding a unique thread to the intricate design. One thread that often prompts discussion and debate is music. Music, a universal language, has touched every culture and civilization in history. It has the power to soothe, inspire, and unite people. Yet within Islam, the role of music is not universally agreed upon. There are diverse viewpoints on this subject within the Muslim community. Some see music as a form of expression that can be used to praise Allah, much like poetry. Others, however, consider it haram, or forbidden, based on their interpretation of Islamic texts. To fully appreciate this complex issue, we need to look beyond the present. We need to journey back in time, through the centuries, to explore how early Islamic scholars viewed music. We'll examine the golden age of Islam, when music and arts flourished. We'll witness the rise of conservative views and how they impacted the role of music in Muslim societies. We'll then fast forward to modern times to understand contemporary interpretations and ongoing debates. We'll explore the mystical tradition of Sufism and its unique relationship with music. And finally, we'll meet contemporary Muslim musicians who are redefining the boundaries of faith and artistry. Whether you're a music lover, a history buff, or simply curious about the world, this journey promises to be enlightening. It's about more than just music. It's about understanding how faith, culture, and history intersect in the diverse world of Islam. So, come along on this journey of discovery and reflection. Let's challenge our preconceptions, broaden our horizons, and deepen our understanding of the world we share. Join us as we delve into the early Islamic views on music. The early Islamic perspective on music was not as straightforward as one might assume. To understand this, we must delve into the writings and teachings of the early Islamic scholars. These scholars were the ones who interpreted the Quran and Hadiths and formed the basis of Islamic jurisprudence, or fiqh. In the early days of Islam, music wasn't universally considered haram or forbidden. Some scholars, like Imam al-Ghazali, one of the most celebrated Islamic philosophers, saw music as a means to elevate the soul and get closer to the divine. He believed that music could evoke emotions that would lead one to a greater understanding and appreciation of Allah's creation. Others, like Imam Ibn Hazm, a noted Andalusian scholar, argued that there were no explicit prohibitions against music in the Quran or the Hadiths. He contended that the interpretation of certain verses to imply a ban on music was a stretch, a viewpoint that adds a layer of complexity to our understanding of early Islamic attitudes towards music. However, it's important to note that not all scholars held such lenient views. There were those like Imam Ibn Hanbal, founder of one of the major schools of Islamic thought, who believed that music could lead to frivolity and distract from religious duties. Thus, he cautioned against its excessive use. But even among the more conservative scholars, there was a distinction made between different types of music. Melodies that incited sinful behavior were frowned upon, while devotional music, or nasheeds, were often considered permissible. So, it's clear that the early Islamic perspective on music was nuanced and varied greatly among scholars. This rich tapestry of interpretations reflects the intellectual dynamism that characterized early Islamic thought. As Islam spread across different cultures, interpretations of music's place within the religion began to diversify. This diversity of thought laid the groundwork for the wide range of perspectives we see in the Islamic world today. The golden age of Islam witnessed a flourishing of arts and sciences, including music. In this vibrant era, spanning from the 8th to the 14th century, music played a significant role in society. It was an age of exploration and innovation, where the boundaries of art, knowledge, and culture were constantly being pushed, and music was no exception. Music served as a means of expression and communication, a tool for education, and a source of entertainment. It was not merely a pastime, but a significant part of the cultural fabric. In the courts of the caliphs, music was a cherished art form, with musicians enjoying a high status and royal patronage. During this time, we also see the development of many musical instruments that are still in use today. The oud, a short-neck lute-type instrument, is a prime example. Originating in Persia, it was adopted by the Arabs and became a staple in Arabic music. The ney, a type of reed flute, also gained popularity during this period. Its soulful, haunting sound became synonymous with the spiritual music of the Sufis. Prominent musicians of the era, such as Ziryab, a singer, musician and poet, were not only performers, but also innovators, educators, and cultural influencers. Ziryab in particular is credited with establishing the first music conservatory in Cordoba in the 9th century, where he taught and developed music theory and composition. However, it's important to remember that while music thrived during this period, it wasn't without controversy. Scholars and theologians debated the appropriateness of music within Islamic society, with some arguing that it distracted from religious duties. Yet despite these debates, music continued to flourish, reflecting the diverse and dynamic nature of the Islamic Golden Age. The Golden Age of Islam presented a more lenient view on music, but the debate was far from over. A shift towards conservative interpretations brought a more stringent view on music. In the timeline of Islamic thought, the rise of conservative views marked a notable turning point in the discourse around music. This shift, which began to take hold around the 18th century, was influenced by a variety of social, political, and religious factors. As the Islamic world underwent numerous changes, a conservative wave swept across many societies. This wave sought to return to a perceived purer form of Islam, one that was believed to be closer to the practices of the Prophet Muhammad and the early Muslim community. In this context, music was seen through a more critical lens. Some conservative scholars began to argue that music could lead to moral decay, distract from religious duties, and even incite sinful behavior. They pointed to specific verses in the Quran and Hadiths, the sayings and actions of the Prophet that they interpreted as prohibiting music. However, it's important to note that these views were not universally accepted. There was still a considerable diversity of opinion within the Islamic world. Many scholars and communities continued to embrace music as a form of artistic expression, a source of spiritual inspiration, and even a tool for promoting Islamic teachings. Yet, the impact of conservative views was undeniable. It led to a greater scrutiny of music and its role within Islamic societies. This scrutiny was not limited to music itself, but extended to the broader culture of entertainment. Everything from musical instruments to public performances was subject to debate and often regulation. This period also saw the rise of alternative forms of religious expression. For instance, the tradition of nasheed or Islamic vocal music gained prominence. Nasheeds, which are typically performed a cappella or with minimal instrumentation, were seen as a more acceptable form of musical expression within these conservative interpretations. In sum, the rise of conservative views brought about a more complex and contested landscape for music within the Islamic world. This period marked a significant turn in the discourse around music in Islam. In modern times, the debate around music in Islam continues to evolve. As the world grows more interconnected, Muslim communities are no longer monolithic. They are as diverse as the countries they inhabit, each with their unique blend of tradition and modernity. This diversity is reflected in the ongoing discourse about the role of music in Islamic life. For instance, some scholars argue that music is permissible as long as it doesn't distract from religious duties or promote immoral behavior. They point out that music can be a powerful tool for expressing devotion and spirituality, much like poetry or calligraphy. This viewpoint is often associated with more liberal or progressive interpretations of Islam. On the other hand, there are those who maintain that music is inherently distracting and can lead to sinful behavior. These voices often come from more conservative corners of the Muslim world. They argue that even if music isn't explicitly forbidden in the Quran, it's better to err on the side of caution and avoid it altogether. However, it's important to remember that not all music is created equal in this debate. Religious songs, known as nasheeds, are generally accepted across the board. The controversy tends to center around secular music, particularly genres associated with hedonistic lifestyles. Then there's the middle ground, where many Muslims find themselves. They may enjoy music but limit their consumption to ensure it doesn't interfere with their religious obligations. They might also avoid music with explicit content, choosing instead to listen to songs with positive or neutral messages. In this complicated landscape, cultural context plays a significant role. In some societies, music is deeply ingrained in the fabric of daily life, making it difficult to separate from religious practice. In others, the line between secular and religious music is more clear-cut. Today, the question of whether music is haram or halal is still a matter of personal interpretation and cultural context. As with many aspects of faith, it's a decision that each individual must make for themselves, guided by their understanding of their religion and their personal relationship with God. In the mystical tradition of Sufism, music holds a special place. Sufism, known for its rich tapestry of spiritual practices, sees music not only as an art form, but as a pathway to the divine. The Sufi tradition is steeped in a symphony of sounds, rhythms, and melodies that seek to transcend the physical world and touch the spiritual. In many Sufi orders, music plays a central role in their rituals, known as dhikr, which means remembrance. These rituals often involve chanting and rhythmic movements, set to music, aimed at creating a state of spiritual ecstasy and a deep connection with the divine. The participants immerse themselves in the melody and rhythm, letting the music carry them to a state of transcendence. This is no mere performance, but a deeply personal and communal spiritual experience. Sufi music varies greatly across different regions and cultures, reflecting the diversity within the Sufi tradition itself. From the soulful Qawwali music of South Asia to the hauntingly beautiful Sama music of Turkey and Persia, Sufi music is as diverse as the people who practice this mystical tradition. But despite their differences, all Sufi music shares a common goal: to create a spiritual connection between the listener and the divine. Perhaps the most famous example of Sufi music is the whirling dervishes of the Mevlevi order in Turkey. Their ceremony, known as the Sema, is a mesmerizing dance accompanied by music that symbolizes the mystical journey of man's spiritual ascent through mind and love to the divine. In the eyes of the Sufi, music is not merely tolerated within Islam, it is celebrated. It is seen as a divine gift, a bridge between the earthly and the heavenly, the human and the divine. The music doesn't divert from faith, but rather it deepens it. It's a spiritual language that transcends words and touches the soul. For Sufis, music is a means to get closer to God, showcasing the diverse interpretations of music within Islam. Despite the debates, many practicing Muslims have pursued careers in music. They have found a way to harmonize their faith with their passion, creating a unique blend of spiritual and artistic expression. This scene will introduce you to a few of these contemporary Muslim musicians. Firstly, let's talk about Sami Yusuf, a British singer-songwriter, composer, and music producer. Often referred to as the Islam's biggest rock star, Yusuf has sold over 34 million albums worldwide. His music, a fusion of Eastern and Western sounds, carries messages of peace, love, and spirituality. Yusuf's work is a testament to how music can be a powerful medium for promoting positive messages and bridging cultural divides. Next up is Yuna, a Malaysian pop star who has made waves on the international music scene. With her enchanting voice and thoughtful lyrics, she's garnered a global fan base. Yuna's music often incorporates themes of self-love, empowerment, and faith, reflecting her own journey as a modern Muslim woman in the music industry. Then we have Khaled, an Algerian musician who is often credited as the king of Rai. Khaled's music is a vibrant mix of traditional Algerian Rai music with pop, reggae, and jazz influences. His songs often tackle social issues, showing how music can be a platform for dialogue and change. Lastly, let's talk about A.R. Rahman, an Indian composer, singer, and music producer who has won 2 Academy Awards. Rahman's music, while deeply rooted in Indian classical traditions, is globally resonant. His work underscores the idea that music is a universal language, transcending borders and cultural differences. These are just a few examples of contemporary Muslim musicians who have managed to carve out their own space in the music world. They navigate their careers with respect for their faith, showing that being a Muslim and a musician are not mutually exclusive. Their music reflects their individual experiences and perspectives as Muslims, adding to the rich tapestry of global music. These musicians show that the relationship between music and Islam is not a one-size-fits-all. Our journey through history has shown us the complex relationship between music and Islam. We've traversed through time, explored differing perspectives, and delved into the heart of the matter. It's clear that the relationship between music and Islam isn't black and white, but a spectrum of hues, rich with diversity and nuance. In the early days of Islam, we've seen how music was not explicitly prohibited. It was a part of social gatherings and celebrations, a testament to the vibrancy of the then Islamic society. But as we moved forward in time, the rise of more conservative views brought a shift, with some scholars interpreting the teachings to suggest that music could lead one astray from the righteous path. Yet, we've also discovered how the golden age of Islam saw a flourishing of music and arts, highlighting the harmonious coexistence of music and faith. And let's not forget the role of music in Sufism, where it has been used as a spiritual tool to connect with the divine. Even in the modern age, the debate continues. There are those who argue for a more relaxed interpretation, viewing music as a form of expression and a means to promote positive messages. On the other hand, there are those who hold a stricter view, upholding their belief that music is a distraction from religious obligations. And of course, we've met contemporary Muslim musicians who are navigating this complex terrain, creating their own unique soundscapes while staying true to their faith. But here's the key takeaway. The interpretation of Islam, like any religion, isn't monolithic. It's a tapestry of beliefs shaped by cultural, historical, and personal contexts. The question of music being haram or forbidden isn't clear-cut. It's a matter of personal interpretation and understanding. As we continue to explore and understand, remember that the beauty of Islam, like music, lies in its diversity and depth. We encourage you to continue this conversation. It's crucial to remember that the topic of music in Islam is not a closed book. It's a narrative that has been written and rewritten throughout centuries, and it's still being penned today. This conversation extends beyond the confines of this video, and we hope it has sparked curiosity and interest within you. So let's keep this dialogue alive. We invite you to share your thoughts, your perspectives, your experiences. Perhaps you have personal stories related to music and Islam, or maybe you have insights into the cultural or historical aspects that we haven't touched upon. Your contributions matter because they enrich our collective understanding and add depth to the conversation. We also understand that perspectives can vary greatly. Some of you might agree with the conservative views, while others may resonate more with the modern interpretations, and that's okay. It's through these differences that we learn and grow. So, let's respect these differences. Let's listen to each other, and let's learn from one another. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Whether it's about the early Islamic views on music, the golden age of Islam, Sufism, or contemporary Muslim musicians, we're here to explore these topics together. We may not have all the answers, but we can certainly embark on the journey to find them together. We also hope that this video has provided you with a fresh perspective, or at least a starting point to dive deeper into the subject. Remember, understanding is a continuous journey, not a destination. We're incredibly grateful for your time and your engagement. It's your curiosity and your willingness to explore that makes these discussions meaningful and worthwhile. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and continuing this conversation in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of music in Islam. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.